The Journey of Love by Muhammad Iqbal. Where in our hearts is that burning of desire? It is true that we are made of dust, and the world is also made of dust, but the dust has motes rising. Whence comes that drive in us? We look to the starry sky, and love storms in our hearts. Whence comes that storm? The journey of love is a very long journey. But sometimes, with a sigh, you can cross that vast desert. Search and search again without losing hope. You may find sometime a treasure on your way. My heart and my eyes are all devoted to the vision.
It is so good to be back with you all for the start of this new church year. I hope you've had a delightful summer. I had the opportunity to go on a nice relaxing vacation and spend some time with my family who all live on the East Coast. I got to visit a couple national parks, and I got to see bison, elk, bighorn sheep, and lots of little baby bighorn sheep. My mother laughed at me. And lots and lots and lots of prairie dogs, which actually I've never seen before. There are also some stunning landscapes. Much of my vacation included traveling. And as I reflect on the time spent driving and hiking, this notion of the bend in the road seems particularly apt for the start of our new year together here at Community UU. What's coming next for us? I had the opportunity in August during my study leave to do some extensive church planning, which involves looking far down the road and asking the questions of, where is it we want to go, and how will we get there? Last winter, during our seasons of conversation, we talked together as a faith community about the things that we want to do and be here at CUUC. We talked about wanting more professional ministry time and additional support for our religious education program. We talked about wanting to grow as a congregation and striving to reach out to the wider community, both in service and to share the good news of Unitarian Universalism. These are all excellent goals to work toward. And I'm happy to say, because of the commitment and support of you all, raising your pledge contributions and dedicating yourself to our mission, we have increased my hours. I was serving as your half-time minister last year, and now I'm at 60% time. We've hired a new religious education coordinator, and we are working to reestablish and really firm up the role of our religious education committee. Our board of trustees is embarking on significant work to ground our CUC policies and procedures in our mission of joy and service right here, right now. All of these things are tied to what we say we want to do and what we want to be. And these are the areas where we've made movement already. We've made progress down the road we say we want to travel. Our mission, that part about joy and service, we want to continue that in everything that we do, in all that we are. So whatever comes around the next bend in the road, the future we can't yet see, but that we hope toward, we move forward and do the work. So I return to those questions that I've been pondering and ask you, where do you want to go? And how do you think we can get there? Some of you know I enjoy mountain biking. And there might be a few of you who know I also enjoy dirt jumping on my mountain bike. I love to get out on my bike and cruise around town and on trails, but I also love the thrill of catching some big air. Unfortunately, there aren't any bike parks around here with the kinds of jumps that I prefer. I have to travel to Seattle or Portland for those. What the Tri-Cities has, though, are skate parks. There's one across the river in Columbia Park. It's not the same as dropping in on a dirt track, but at least there are opportunities for some jumping. On Monday, I went out for a nice ride across the Cable Bridge and back across the Blue Bridge, and then I stopped at the skate park. Now, I ride a big bike. It has 29-inch wheels. This is not a brag, this is just the reality of what I ride. It's great for cruising on the single track and heading down mountain trails, but it's not ideally suited for BMX-style tricks at the skate park. Usually those bikes have 20-inch wheels, just to give you some perspective, much smaller. Anyway, when I was at the skate park on Monday, what I usually do is I just jump off the side of the ramps, just enough to get my heart pumping and do a little bit to keep, my excitement about doing those kinds of tricks. On Monday, though, I decided to try a different section of ramp. As I rode up the one side, I had to pull up the very large tires to get over the crest at the top. And when I did, I pulled something in my back. Felt it immediately. A few hours later, a trip to the doctor, muscle relaxers, and I was down. I apologize to those of you I had to cancel meetings with early in the week. It was not the best decision to try that with my current bike. Now, the point of this story is not simply to share my biking adventures, which I'd be happy to talk about. And it's not really to just talk about what I learned about the limitations of my own body. It's about using the right tools for the task at hand. I foolishly tried a new stunt using a bike that was far too big for what I was trying to accomplish. It's possible I still could have injured myself if I had a correctly sized bike, but the likelihood that I'd be successful would have been far higher if I had the right tool for the task. I wonder, in thinking about where we hope to go as a faith community, if we're using the right tools for the task at hand. Is it possible that we might be trying to do something or go somewhere with a bike that simply doesn't fit the stunt? Araya Mountain Dreamer writes in her book, What We Ache For, Creativity and the Unfolding of Your Soul. She writes about embracing our creativity as we forge a path forward. She says, doing creative work allows us to follow the thread of what we ache for. What we ache for sounds a lot like mission. What we hope to do and be. Araya goes on to talk about the risks involved in doing the creative work necessary to achieve our goals. Risk because we have to leave our habitual way of seeing if we are to see what can be made from what the world is offering at this time. Risk because over and over again, we have to let go of what we thought we would see or hear or feel to find the truth that is speaking to us, the movement that wants to be revealed in our creative work. Risk because when we do our creative work with this kind of openness, we will be changed by the process. Risk because every time we arrive at the shore of a successfully completed piece of creative work, with our feet on solid ground, we have to leave that shore and venture forth again into unknown waters. Otherwise, we are simply repeating what we did before. And while that can be comforting to both us and those who like what we did before, it's not what creative work is about. To create, we have to risk learning something. We have to risk shaking up our assumptions with a new way of seeing. And we have to risk failure. When we say as a faith community that we want to grow, that we want to reach out beyond our walls, what is our process for creatively imagining ways to do just that? In what ways are we maybe stuck in habitual ways of seeing? How might we be remaining comfortable at the expense of actualizing what we say we want to be? And are we willing to do the creative work for finding our way? You know, when you're traveling on a road and the path ahead turns around a bend, whether it's one of those gradual curves that eventually veers out of sight, or an abrupt turn that quickly changes the direction before you. When you're traveling on that road and you happen upon that bend, what do you do? How do you react when you don't know for sure what's coming next? Usually, you can predict that a highway, let's say, will continue on in the same ways after that bend, with its multiple lanes and current speed limit. Things will carry on pretty much as they are now. The only difference may be that the sun's in your eyes now. But say you're hiking through the rainforest and the path meanders around a bend. You could make that turn and run into a herd of deer grazing right there in front of you. Or maybe it's the end of the trail and there's a beautiful natural spring. That part of the path that you can't see yet may be very different from what you know of the trail right now. Our theme for September is expectation. With expectation comes faith, the path of hopeful anticipation. Our expectations of what's coming next, of what's around the next bend, reflect from the same water as our vision for what we hope will be. We hope the highway continues on after the bend in the road, and we hope there's not an accident or an animal in the road. We hope that the bends and twists in the hiking trail lead us to beautiful natural wonders and safe crossings. What do we hope for the future of Community Unitarian Universalist Church? When we claim our mission to be joy and service right here, right now, what does that mean? I shared this story just a minute ago about injuring my back on Monday at the skate park, attempting a trick on the wrong kind of bike. What I didn't tell you was that I've been considering buying a BMX bike for quite some time now. There's jokes in my family about this being something about being in midlife. I've test-ridden some bikes, talked with experts, watched videos, and even discussed it with my doctor. Recently, I found a cheap bike on clearance that I was considering buying. I went back to the store a few times trying to decide if I was going to invest in this first-time bike and see. And then I hurt my back on Monday, and I really was down. Tuesday, while I was at the store buying more ibuprofen, even though I was grumbling in pain and moving pretty awkwardly, I found out there was a coupon for that bike that was expiring that day. It was $10 more off, and the clearance price was half off. That's my kind of buying, right? It was like the universe was saying, "What are you waiting for? Now, others, including some of my family members, might say that the back injury the day prior was the universe telling me to forget it. BMX biking is not for you, Crystal. But BMX freestyling is something I want to do. I choose to believe that I can still try it and see. So one day after I hurt myself at the skate park, I bought that bike. I now own, an adult-sized bike and a little baby bike. And I haven't been able to ride it yet because I'm still injured. I don't know what the future holds for my biking habits, for my physical body, for what I discover about returning to a sport of my youth. But I trust in the process, and I'm willing to try it. I'm willing to go for it. Whatever comes around the next bend in the road, I have faith that I can maneuver it. Araya Mountain Dreamer writes, "All that is required is a commitment to continuing and a trust in the process itself." We don't know what the next year will bring for us here at CUC, what the next 3 years will be, or the next 10 years. We don't know for certain what's around the next bend. What we do know and what we can name is where we want to go. And we come together week after week after week, exploring why it's important and how we're going to get there. We can expect great things when we put in the work to make them happen. When we engage in the creative process, there is hope in the potential. Like Theodore Parker and then Martin Luther King Jr. after him said, "The moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice." I believe it does, my friends, and it takes the work of people of conscience to make it so. We want to grow. We want to be a voice in the world, a presence in our wider community, a force for good, workers for justice, a community open and ready for change, joy and service right here, right now. Are we ready to do the work to make it so? I leave you with this writing from Anne Hillman. "We look with uncertainty beyond the old choices for clear-cut answers to a softer, more permeable aliveness, which is every moment at the brink of death. For something new is being born in us if we but let it. We stand at a new doorway, awaiting that which comes, daring to be human creatures, vulnerable to the beauty of existence, learning to love." My friends, the journey of love is a very long journey, with the road bending before us and all that remains unknown. We travel this path together with hopeful expectation. I invite us all to engage in the creative work to live out our mission. As our reading earlier said, "My heart and my eyes are all devoted to the vision." May it be so, and amen.
The flame flickers and releases, its smoke rising, just as we will rise to what calls in body, in spirit, in heart, and in mind, as we may expect only the best in all situations and in all ways. What comes will come, and what grows will grow. Expect the best. Blessed be.